playing 2-5, no limit Texas Hold'em. There's no meetup game today, so I'm only out to make money and crush people's souls into tiny pieces. But in like a very polite and respectful way. I'm in for 1,000, I take my seat, and the first hand of the session I pick up pocket jacks in the cutoff. Under the gun limps in, the hijack came back from a break and had to post 7, he checks his option. I raise to 30, the button calls, as does the small blind, onto the gun, and the hijack call as well. We're going 5 ways to the flop with a hand that can be very difficult to play. The dealer puts out 9-7-5 rainbow, checks to me. This is a coordinated board that could connect with a lot of hands, especially hands that might limp in and just call my initial pre-flop raise. I do have an overpair though, and I won't like many turns, so I bet 85. Wouldn't be too upset to take it down now. In my head, there's roughly a 100% chance that I'm going to get check raised. Seems like my calculations might be just a little off because the button calls and the other players all fold. We're heads up, is a pretty decent outcome. The turn is an ace. Not worried about it too much since there shouldn't be many aces in my opponent's range. Still, he was the first person to call my flop bet when there were several others involved in the hand, so I'm more concerned he might have outflopped me. For that reason, and to keep the pot reasonably sized, I check. The opponent checks back, feeling good about my hand. The river is another ace. It's a great card. It makes it even less likely the opponent had an ace on the turn. He shouldn't have checked back any hands that were beating us on the previous street, and the river didn't change anything, so I feel comfortable going for value. I bet 160 to try to make it look like I'm buying it. The opponent thinks it over, looks like he wants to call. Eventually, he puts his chips in the middle. I turn over the jacks. They're good. We're off to a great start. 2 minutes into playing, we're up 365. Our hourly for the session is incredible. In the last hand we'll go over, I pick up Queen Jack offsuit in the cutoff, onto the gun limps in, onto the gun +2 calls, the hijack calls, I call, and the big blind checks. We go 5 ways to the flop, it comes 10-8-7 rainbow. The opponent's check to me, with 2 overs and a gut shot straight draw, I bet 15. The big blind calls, as does under the gun +2, the other 2 players fold, 3 of us see the turn, and it's the 9 of hearts, we smash it, both players check, I'm definitely going to bet. It's unlikely I'll be able to get a call from anyone that has worse than 2 pair, so for that reason, I bet 60. It's a little on the larger side. I'm trying to create a big pot in case I'm up against a set or another straight. The big blind folds, but under the gun +2 calls, we're heads up. The river is the 4 of hearts. The backdoor flush draw gets there. It's a little bit scary, but since I have the jack of hearts and the 9 of hearts came on the turn, there aren't many holdings that my opponent could call a flop bet with that contain 2 hearts. The opponent checks. I bet 175, really just targeting lower straights. The player is in agony, then eventually makes the call. I turn over the queen high straight. He seems to only see the jack and almost exposes his cards before realizing that I have the highest straight possible. I imagine that he has the jack high straight. I win a nice pot to end the session on a high note before booking a win and racking up